Hello, welcome to Giving Tuesday. I'm Angela Harris, Vice President of Community Engagement, Programming and Communications with DCTV. Washington, D.C. is home to over 12,000 nonprofit organizations. This represents over a quarter of the district's workforce. D.C. nonprofits give nearly $500 million annually to the district for a variety of services, and that doesn't include the countless hours of volunteer work done in our community. DCTV is committed to meaningful media. That means we proudly give a voice to those who are the least heard, and we speak meaningful dialogue about the important things that impact our community. In 2019, DCTV launched a new grant program for the purpose of helping nonprofit organizations to increase their communications capacity. We developed the grant with the guidance of nonprofit leaders who told us that getting the word out about the work they are doing is amongst the biggest challenges that they face, especially in a hyper-digital world. So we are here today to tell these stories, to make sure that these meaningful messages are seen and heard. Giving Tuesday is an annual event that began in 2012 as a way to spark the holiday giving season. It's celebrated on the first Tuesday after Thanksgiving each year. We hope that today's 24-hour special programming event will inspire you and will give you cause to join these organizations in the great work they are doing every day. So sit back and you'll be introduced to some of DCTV staff who will serve as the hosts for this one-of-a-kind special event. And happy holidays.
Hello, I'm Lisa Haynes, Communications Manager at DCTV. Here in DC, the youth population is more than 266,000 strong, and women account for more than half of the entire DC community. There are a number of nonprofit organizations dedicated to providing support services that directly address the specific needs of both women and the district's young people. Some of the services include after-school programs, teaching young people tools for success and how to reach their full potential, as well as development opportunities and crisis support services for women, just to name a few. We are about to introduce you to 8 DC area nonprofit organizations that are offering such services. They include Beacon House, Casa PG County, Comfort Cases, Hillcrest Children and Family Center, DC Rape Crisis Center, Kid Power Incorporated, and the Hoop for All Foundation.
Beacon House has done an amazing job of supporting our students and their families, making sure that they have the resources to serve their educational needs. As Ward 5 Council member, I am immensely proud to be able to work alongside the dedicated staff and the entire team here at Beacon House to continue to do the phenomenal work that they've been providing for decades.
The great thing about coaching at Beacon House is that you get to set the standard, and you get to set the standard, and you get to instill certain characteristics of the children that's up here. It's not just sports up here. There's more resources in Beacon House's community than what's on the surface. So don't think, oh, my son can't play football, he don't need to be up here. That's not what Beacon House is.
My favorite part about going to Beacon House was when I got to participate in other programs like Jules or Girls in Actions. Well, they usually help us with our homework.
One of the reasons I like Beacon House was because I didn't receive only academic help, but emotional help. So if I came home with a bad day at school or a bad feeling, my teachers would help me sort out my emotions. Beacon House was part of the reason I got into Banneker. because they were the ones keep making sure my grades were up. Like every time I got a report card, they would send a copy.
It's the root of this community. It's kind of like part of the glue that holds Edgewood together. Without the Beacon House, I just don't know that we would be we would thrive as much as we do here.
This is Impact Moment right here on DCTV. I'm Alvin Jones, and today we have a man who's going to bring you a beacon of information, some light to light up your life. I'm talking about Kevin Hilton with Beacon. How are you?
I'm doing just great, thank you.
Let's talk about your organization, the great things that it does.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm the CEO and Executive Director of Beacon House. We are an after-school education and youth development organization which serves children and families in Northeast Washington, D.C.'s Edgewood neighborhood. Our mission is to provide opportunities for children in Edgewood to increase their academic achievement, discover their talents, and fulfill their greatest potential. We serve approximately 400 children ages 5 through 18 annually, and we do this by providing homework help, high-impact tutoring, and a range of enrichment and youth development programs designed to close the education achievement gap that exists between children of color in Northeast Washington, D.C. and their white peers.
You got that time from the time the school is out until parents get home.
That is absolutely correct. We're very proud of the track record that our children have demonstrated in terms of educational achievement. We serve children and families who face a range of racial and economic inequities. And despite that, they have demonstrated year after year that with the right guidance, support, and encouragement that they can and will achieve educational success. Between 2008 and 2020, 93% of our graduating high school seniors have gone on to pursue post-secondary educational opportunities.
How does it make you feel when you see these students come into Beacon House and do well and go on to their success?
And not only do we get great satisfaction out of the educational accomplishments of the students we serve, our alumni frequently return and participate in our program as academic tutors and coaches in our award-winning athletics program. They are not only going on to achieve great things, but they are giving back in the community.
These young people who live in neighborhoods with very low income, you're trying to give them an opportunity.
That's absolutely right. There's a role that we have in this whole piece, which is about providing safety and opportunity for children in Edgewood. It's a role that is vital.
What are some of the challenges that you're facing right now with COVID being around? And like you said, right now you and I, we're on a rooftop, and we're social distancing. So I'm sure your programs have been impacted.
We entered this COVID phase without having a virtual model in place. And so we've had to improvise, to find new ways to engage children and families, new ways to provide support, and new ways to run our organization in a world in which social distancing is the rule.
Well, there's some people watching right now, and if they didn't know about Beacon House, they know now, and they are probably inspired. How can they reach out to you?
You can learn more about Beacon House by visiting our website, www.beaconhousedc.org, or by visiting our social media pages. Our Facebook page, our hashtag is @BeaconHouseDC, and the same is true for Instagram and Twitter.
So there you have it, Beacon House and Kevin Hilton shining a light on the darkness of poverty and despair and giving people hope. This has been another Impact Moment right here on DCTV. I'm Alvin Jones.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
When I was young, I was plagued by fear and self-pity. Drinking made me care less about my insecurities.
My life was in shambles, and I was trying to figure out how to pick up the pieces.
At first, I never drank on the job, but eventually I did.
Removing alcohol wasn't enough. It left me depressed and lonely. That's where AA offered a solution.
The people I met thought like me. For the first time in my life, I felt like I wasn't so crazy.
I remember sitting in the AA meeting and thinking, I finally found a place where I belong.
I never thought I could have made it through those hard times as the happy person I am today.
AA not only keeps me sober, it helps me live a much better life.
I found out I can do this thing, one day at a time. I've never been happier in my life. If you have a problem with alcohol, contact AA. It works for me.
And for me.
And for me.
We aren't the social work professionals, we aren't the attorneys, but having someone who is doing this as a volunteer and for the love and the assurance that children and families are safe and thriving is what sets us apart from those other important roles. In Prince George's County, the youth who are in foster care are predominantly older teenagers, 15, 16, 17, all the way to 21. We recognize that their education, that their employment skills need some supportive resources. And so we try to help train our volunteers so that they are ready and able to work with teenagers.
Helping children is my passion. And I realized that this young lady needs somebody to come along with her, not behind her or before her, beside her, and bring her along.
You was basically there for everything ever since you stepped in my life. So even prom, just having somebody by my side that believed in me. Thank you for everything that you have done.
We are in need in particular for people who are bilingual, who could speak and write and communicate in Spanish and English in particular. We also are looking for people who are ready and prepared and able to be LGBTQ affirming volunteers, as well as men. Anyone can change a child's story.
Welcome to Impact Moment right here on DCTV. I'm Alvin Jones, and today I have the pleasure of sharing with you a lady who is the Deputy Director of the Court-Appointed Special Advocates, and they do some great things for people. Cara Bundy, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you again. It's good to be able to share information right here on Impact Moment. Yes. Let's talk about CASA and what it does for folks and why it's important.
Awesome. So Court-Appointed Special Advocate works with kids in foster care who are living in foster care due to the abuse or neglect they have experienced. So when a child has been abused or neglected and the court has decided that they need to be removed from their home and put into foster care, they are then overseen by judges and magistrates who make decisions about what needs to happen in that child's life. CASA comes in when children need somebody who can stand up for their best interests. So we train citizen volunteers, people like you or I, who just have some extra time and a passion for helping kids. And we work with them so that they can be working one-on-one with a child or teenager in foster care to advocate for what's in their best interest. So when a child comes into foster care, there are several adults working with them. So they have a social worker who's there to place them in a safe foster home, make sure that they are enrolled in school, that they have, doctor's appointments and things like that lined up. They also do have an attorney who is there to advocate for what's called their expressed wishes. So in Maryland, children children as young as 8 can have their expressed wishes advocated for. So if a child wants to go home to mom or dad who hasn't made any changes since the abuse or neglect has occurred, that's what their attorney is going to advocate for. And then of course the parents often have their own attorneys. But what we do that's different is the CASA volunteers are there to advocate for best interests. So we know, that there are resource constraints, that there are time constraints, but we are there to make sure that children are getting what they need, regardless of what is convenient, what works for everybody. We are really focused on what's in the child's best interest. Our volunteers also are the only one that's working one-on-one with the child. So the social worker might have 20 different cases, so they are spending their time putting out fires, handling emergencies, and might be able to see the child once a month. Attorneys have upwards of 100 cases, so if they get an opportunity to see the kid in the hallway before the hearing starts, that's great, but they don't have an opportunity to spend much more time on the case than that. Whereas the volunteer is working just with that child. They are spending 10 to 15 hours a month on average, getting to know that child, talking to the adults in their life, the parents, the social workers, teachers. So they actually have a court order that grants them access to everything that is going on with that child. They can even talk to therapists and doctors to understand everything that's going on with that child, to really look at the big picture. And like I said, not just be focused on checking boxes, but figuring out what is really best for that child.
Well, it's almost like it's that child's investigative report. It goes through everything to find out what the child needs, what he likes, what's the impacts, and how it happens. And what I like about the advocates is that they're dealing directly with one child. They're not split in between. What type of special training does a person have to be given to be an advocate?
So to be an advocate, people don't have to have any specific educational or work experience. There are some requirements, like they have to be at least 21. They have to pass a background screening. Obviously, we want to make sure that we are having only the most appropriate volunteers. But we actually provide the training that they need in order to be a CASA volunteer. So right now, with COVID and everything going on, we're doing training online. So we have 30 hours of training. It's a combination of live, online training with a facilitator and then independent work that they're doing. But we are teaching them everything from child development, cycles of poverty and abuse, as well as the role of the CASA, how to write court reports, how to prepare for court hearings. And then once they are assigned to a case, they actually have a case supervisor. So we have professional staff who, again, come from a variety of backgrounds to make sure that in our office we have expertise in all areas, whether that means that we have a medically fragile child, a child who has a lot of educational issues. We have staff who can address all those issues. And so they are constantly working with the volunteers to make sure that the volunteers know the priorities of the case. That's who volunteers can call when something happens and they don't know what to do. So they're really there to support them. So it's not required to have any particular background because we give our volunteers the tools they need to be a CASA volunteer.
Wow, that's fantastic. One of the things what was just on my mind with this, what are the special needs that are going on now that you have COVID? Have you seen a change in the children that come through the door that need advocates?
Sure. So there is a lot that has changed. Mid-March, like most organizations, our office shut down and moved to remote work. Our work never stopped. Our staff were working online. And in fact, our volunteers have increased how frequently they are communicating with the children. So prior to COVID, volunteers were required to see the child at least twice a month. Our volunteers are now having weekly phone and video calls with the youth to make sure that we know what's going on. We know that children's routines have been disrupted. Often therapy has been disrupted. Visitation with parents and siblings has been disrupted. And that creates an additional trauma for our youth. So there are a lot of articles out about how all youth, regardless of their situation right now, are experiencing a form of childhood trauma because of the lockdown and everything that means. But our children are experiencing additional traumas because of the disruptions to basic things like being able to see their family. So our volunteers are working very hard to make sure that we know what's going on, that we can respond to mental health crises. We were very fortunate to get a grant that we were able to utilize to help particularly those older foster youth living in group homes. So we have older kids who are in independent living and are likely to stay in foster care until they age out. So those youth obviously have a lot more needs. So we've gotten grocery cards for them. We were helping them with cell phone bills. We've been able to purchase masks and cleaning supplies for them. So the needs have definitely shifted. Our work has never stopped and indeed has increased. But what we are also looking at is the expected increase in need for CASA volunteers. So we know that in any crises, whether it's an economic crisis or otherwise, abuse increases. And there have been a lot of reports about the increases of domestic violence in the region, but what we're not seeing yet is the increases in child abuse that we know are happening. In April, the Department of Human Resources in Maryland actually reported a 78% decrease in the reports of child abuse from the same period the year prior. And that's because children are not being exposed to the people who would normally be reporting the abuse. They're not being exposed to teachers, community members, coaches.
Right. Because these are the people who see what's going on.
Exactly.
But when it's inside, the parent's not going to report it if
Exactly.
they're doing it. So let me ask you this. What is it that CASA needs? And what is it that CASA is saying to folks to come to you for?
Sure. So what we really need right now is more volunteers. We need more people to step up and say, I want to change a child's story.
For DCTV, I'm Alvin Jones, and this has been another Impact Moment.
Please listen to this message in its entirety. There is currently a motion being filed to suspend all bank accounts and tax returns bearing your name and social security number. To review immediate rights and details and avoid all further proceedings, please contact our firm at 1-844-898, or you may press 1 to be transferred to your case manager immediately.
Hi, I'm Tarek Sadek, intern here at DCTV. The skills I'm learning with DCTV are preparing me for a career in media production. The knowledge I'm receiving is second to none. Normally students don't receive this type of training, so I feel extremely lucky to have this opportunity to work with such a highly experienced crew. I'm learning how to manage a production, and I've learned how to work with the team. I have basic camera, gaffing, and editing skills, and I recently got my chance to edit together some original pieces for DCTV. This is my DCTV story. DCTV is meaningful media making an impact.
We know the statistics show us that children who enter the foster care system are taken over 60% because of the word neglect. And so what happens is someone has called Child and Family Service agencies somewhere throughout the United States, and they have filed a complaint that a child was either being abused or being neglected. Every single state is different, but immediately what happens is there's an investigation that is done very quickly, and they will then make that determination if the child should be removed. The sad part is that it's done so quickly that these children are removed, and what they grab is they grab literally a trash bag to put their belongings in. We make sure that every child gets their own toothbrush, their own toothpaste, their own dental floss. We give every kid an activity. Kids under the age of 10 get a coloring book and crayons, and kids over the age of 10 get a journal and a pen and pencil set. We give every kid a book. Everybody gets a stuffy. I don't care if you're a newborn up to the age of 19, we all love a good stuffed animal. We have given out over 100,000 cases to all 50 states, DC and Puerto Rico. All of our donations come from people all over the world. We realize that we're in this together. That's the whole reason why these trash bags have to be eliminated. We must make sure that kids in the system know that they're loved, that they are part of our community. Go to comfortcases.org, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram and Facebook, spread the word.
Welcome to Impact Moment right here on DCTV. I'm Alvin Jones. You know, a lot of times people go through pain, and that pain turns into passion, and then they find their purpose. A lot of times in life, we go through things, and it's how we adjust to it and how we make it better for other people. And that sometimes makes a difference, not just for us, but for the whole world. Now, today, I am talking to Robbie Shear. He's with Comfort Cases, and he's a gentleman who started off in the foster care system, and guess what? His passion, well, he's now fulfilling it, and he's doing his purpose, and that is making sure that foster children have cases. Robert, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here today.
You've been able to take a part of your life that was probably not very good and transform it into helping other people. Let's talk about that.
You know, it's kind of crazy. So my life has not started out probably like most people that are even watching this show. You know, I'm the youngest of 10 kids. My mother was married 6 times, and we lived in and out of every shelter in Maryland, Virginia, and DC. And it was a really, really hard life. And then when I turned 12, I entered the foster care system after both of my parents passing away. I remember walking up the front door of my very first home carrying a trash bag. A trash bag. See, the fact is that we have 438,000 children in foster care, and we are allowing them all to carry a trash bag. Could you just imagine walking through a hotel lobby carrying a trash bag, how you would feel inside?
Well, if you think about, what's the song with Erykah Badu, all them bags?
All those bags, you know, and that was me. But my life decided to go on, and as every year I was in foster care, I became stronger and stronger. And then I turned 18. It was the fall of 1984, just across the bridge, right where we are at today, and I became homeless. See, when I was a kid in the system, when you turned 18, no matter what stage of your life you were in, you were out of the system. And for me, it was the fall of my senior year of high school, and I literally became a homeless kid carrying a trash bag. I went to school every single day. I carried that trash bag and would hide it behind the bushes, and I would go into school and I would hope that kids wouldn't make fun of me because I couldn't tell you the last time I had a haircut, or much less brushed my teeth, or even took a shower. And then the day happened. I actually graduated from high school. See, only 54% of kids in foster care actually graduate from high school. Only 11% of them will put an application in for a college, and only 3% will get a college education. And I was going to be one of those 54%, one of the first people in my family to graduate from high school. And then I joined the United States Navy. I joined the Navy, and I became a successful businessman right here in the DC area, and I never looked back. See, I had realized after all of those years of being in a shattered system, being a homeless teenager, that my community had failed me. I had realized in my mind that my community didn't love me, and my community didn't want me. I realized that my community had taught me 3 things: me, me, me. It was all about me and what I could do for myself. So I wanted to make sure that I was successful. I wanted to make sure that I bought one of the biggest houses in DC. I wanted to make sure that I bought not 1 but 2 expensive cars, because I wanted you to look at me. I wanted you to look at me and say, wow, whoever that man is, he's successful. See, I wouldn't tell people. And then 11 years ago, oh my gosh, did my life ever change. 11 years ago, right here in the District of Columbia, 2 of the most amazing humans walked into my house. My little daughter, who was 4 years old, named Amaya, and her brother McCray, who was 2. But the shocking thing, my friend, they were both carrying trash bags.
Wait a minute. Again? You've done all of this to get away from trash bags. I mean, was it a Gucci trash bag? Was it a Louis Vuitton trash bag?
No. As a matter of fact, I still have those trash bags, and this is exactly what it looked like. This is what it was, a trash bag. And I remember looking at the social worker and I said, are you kidding me? Are you really telling me that after all of these years that I have gone through this system, after all of the things that we have done as a country, after the fact that, you know, we all stand around and say how much we give and how much we care, we are still allowing children in the system to carry a trash bag? Her exact words to me were, well, what should they carry? Yeah. And I looked at her and said, how about some dignity? You know, that weighed heavy on my heart, but now all of a sudden I'm a dad to 2 kids. And by the way, my son McCray was special needs. They said he was never going to talk and never going to walk. They actually looked at him and looked at my husband and I and said, "Are you sure you want this one?" As if he was a piece of clothing. Yeah. It's, you know, the system is shattered. You know, people say all the time, "Oh, our child welfare system's broke." No, it's not. I tell my kids all the time, if something is broke, bring me the super glue. Daddy will put it back together. But when it is shattered, we must discard it and rebuild it. And that's what we have to do.
Do you find in the world right now in 2020 that people are looking at systems that are shattered and saying, no more?
You know what? I never thought as a man who's 53 years old that I would ever be able to say, I truly see change. And I do. I see change happening. But for us, it didn't stop there. 3 months later, the phone rang again. It's another social worker. By the way, we have 2 more children that need a home. Mind you, we were trying to deal with being a dad of 2 amazing kids, my daughter Amaya, my son McCray, and the next thing you know, we were actually having 4 kids. My son Grayson, and he was 2, and his baby brother Tristan, who was 6 months old, arrived in our home. All of a sudden, within 3 months, we went from no kids to 4 kids. By the way, they brought a trash bag as well.
No, another trash bag?
Another trash bag. And so I couldn't get that trash bag out of my mind. I could not stop thinking about all the other kids. But at that point, I was just trying to be a dad.
So after all this time, they're still giving foster children trash bags.
Yeah, and you know, it's just something I couldn't get out of my head. See, for my whole life, this trash bag tried to define me. This trash bag actually tried to make me feel what my self-worth was. And I couldn't shake it out of my head. And I kept thinking about all the other kids who were feeling the same exact way. So when I pulled all of my friends and some of my senior managers together, and I sat down in the conference room, and my children were there, and my husband was there, and I proceeded to tell my story. See, the fact is, very few people knew about my story. I had told very few people because I was worried about what you would think. See, I was so worried about what everybody would think of me. See, I was uneducated. I don't know the difference between there, and there. I remember the fact of eating out of trash cans just to make sure that my belly got full. And I was worried that if you knew about that, then you wouldn't care about me, that you wouldn't love me.
But see, your success is in spite of your struggle.
You know, I never thought about it that way, but I just knew that I needed to make an impact within our community. So as we got everybody together, I told them my story, and I told them about the trash bag, and I told them what I wanted to do. In 7 years, we have given out over 100,000 cases to all 50 states, DC, and Puerto Rico.
How can people get involved if they want to help out? And if someone wants a case, how can they get a case?
Each and every one of us can do. We can do. That's the key. No matter whether you have money in your pocket or no matter if you're struggling for that money, we can all do, and that's volunteer. So visit comfortcases.org.
I'd like to thank Rob Sure with Comfort Cases for coming on. A great story. A man who went through the foster care system, became extremely successful, but never forgot to help. That's what life's all about. For Impact Moment, I'm Alvin Jones, right here on DCTV.
Are you looking for lower energy rates or renewable energy sources like solar and wind? DC Power Connect can help. District Energy customers can now shop online at dcpowerconnect.com for their energy supplier. DC Power Connect is an online tool that gives DC consumers the power to choose the right energy plan for them. Visit dcpowerconnect.com and find out how you can shop for your energy today. DC Power Connect, your energy, your choice.
On Giving Tuesday, December 1st, 2020, DCTV will shine a spotlight on the impact that nonprofit organizations are having in our community. We invite you to tune in for a special 24 hours of continuous programming, highlighting Washington, D.C.'s nonprofit community and the organizations that are making a difference in our community. Tune in morning, noon, and night to be inspired and to witness meaningful media. DCTV is where meaningful media is making an impact.
There is nothing more grand than to be able to serve others. There's nothing more meaningful than to live every day on purpose. And at Hillcrest, we have passion and we live every day with purpose. We provide services to schools. We provide all types of home-based services, therapy, psychiatric services. We help clients get jobs, housing, and other kinds of supports.
I feel as though the Hillcrest Youth Program has made me realize who I really am as a person. It's made me recognize what I'm doing, what I want to do. It's helped me set my goals for the future a lot.
Hillcrest Youth Program has helped me open my eyes to see who I am as a person. When I see myself in the future, I see myself as a lawyer, but if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't know, you know?
We have all planned out like where we're going to go to college, who we're going to college with, like how we're going to get the money for college and stuff like that. It has really helped us with decision making, and I'm thankful for that.
True success is looking in someone's eyes and understanding that they have hope, that they know that it will be a better day, that they know they can overcome their circumstances, and they know that their past is not necessarily an indicator of what their future can be.
Welcome to Impact Moment here on DCTV. I'm Alvin Jones, and today I'm talking with the lady who is running an organization that's been around for over 200 years, a part of American history. I'm talking about the Hillcrest Children and Family Center, and I have with me the one and only Juanita Price. How you doing?
Excellent. How about yourself?
I am fantastic. It's a beautiful day.
It's a wonderful day.
We are social distancing.
Yes, we are. Yes,
but we're
we
still
are.
getting close to each other. We're getting some information.
Absolutely.
Over 200 years. Talk about that.
Well, Hillcrest Children and Family Center, of which I am the very proud CEO, has been around for 205 years. We were established in 1815 by First Lady Dolly Madison to care for the orphans from the War of 1812. And we have operated continuously since that time, some up years, some down years, but nevertheless, we are one of the nation's most resilient organizations, and we are continuing to operate even today during this time, this particular season.
You're telling me that Dolly Madison created this organization for orphans.
It just really is amazing that our history, we started out providing services to those individuals who were disenfranchised. And although various things have changed over the years, we still target and we still, our primary population are those individuals who are disenfranchised. We work with young people, many of whom have emotional problems, emotional issues that they're trying to work through. We serve families, families that are trying to grow together, learn together, communicate better together, be more healthy and resilient together. Mm-hmm. We serve individuals unattached necessarily to nuclear families. So we provide the range of services to the range of people. We're certified to provide mental health services as well as what we call SUD, or substance use disorder services, throughout the population span.
Well, it sounds like you cover a gambit, but the bottom line is that the core is these are people who are in need, and these are people who need services. And one of the things that you've been there for over 200 years, which means you're dependable. People know that Hillcrest is going to be right there for you.
Absolutely. Now, I do want to say,
okay,
I personally have not been there for 200 years.
No,
Just
no,
in case
no, no. I don't even think you've been there. You haven't been around for 20 years.
Exactly,
right.
exactly. But absolutely, I think that is just a wonderful testament to the resiliency of the organization and to the original vision and mission of the organization. So it just it's just thrilling to know that we are a part of that history. And as we approach this current season of COVID-19, this season of protesting against social injustice, I remind our staff and our families that it is so important for us to be engaged and be involved. But Hillcrest, we have gone through all of that type of history. We've gone through the Civil War, we've gone through World War, we've gone through segregation, we've gone through the Depression, we've gone through every season in the country, since 1815, and we have come out resilient. We have been true to our mission, and we have continued to help and support people move to a next level in their life or achieve various goals that they have set out for themselves.
Right now, there's somebody who's reaching out to you because you've touched them, they've needed you, and now they know that you're there. Juanita Price, thank you so very much for coming on Impact Moment. It's the Hillcrest Children and Family Center. For DCTV, this has been an Impact Moment. I'm Alvin Jones.
Thank you.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
When people think about healthy babies, I want them to remember this quote from Abraham Lincoln, that we rise by lifting others.
Every dollar goes to those young girls. If they don't have socks, if we find the money, they're getting socks. And if any extra dollar can go to their education, that's where it's gonna go.
The most important thing is that it only takes one person to walk in through that door and to help make a change and to change that mom's life and that child's life.
The impact and the time that they spend here makes a dramatic difference.
Hello, it's time once again for Impact Moment right here on DCTV. I'm Alvin Jones, and today we're going to bring you hope. And we're also going to give you a translation. In Swahili, hope means Talani. And that's what we have today with us, the executive director and founder of Talani DC Incorporated, Portia Richardson. How you doing?
Hi, how are you? It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for meeting us on our new outdoor patio studio overlooking Washington, D.C.
Yes, thank
You're
you.
a DC native, right?
I am, yes, a native of Ward 7, DC.
All right, so
Yep.
tell us how you started Talani DC.
So I grew up in Ward 7.
Mhm.
I witnessed a lot of poverty, a lot of violence in my community, and I remembered what it was like for me to have a strong connection with mentors, with organizations that supported my journey to success. And so I wanted to give back to the students in my community as well. I've also been teaching for 10 years in DC public schools. And so I've also witnessed a lot of the gaps in the education system and how teachers are often having to focus on the academic content while figuring out how to give students what they need socially and emotionally. So that's what we do at Tumani. We fill in those gaps.
It sounds like what you guys are doing, you're creating facilities so that these children can get these barriers that are getting in their way out of the way.
Absolutely. We have a full curriculum of 25 lessons. We focus on social and emotional learning competencies. So we teach students how to become more self-aware. We teach them mindfulness skills to build self-regulation and self-management. We teach how to build and maintain strong relationships, responsible decision-making. So we have a host of sessions that we implement for students, and we also provide training and professional development for teachers and community-based organization leaders around how to teach those skills to students as well.
You're also teaching these students how to deal with these issues that are coming in front of them, because a lot of times when you're young, you're facing a lot of things, there's a lot of changes, and you don't know what it is, and you don't know how to interpret it.
You can imagine that right now we're dealing with a lot of social justice issues in the world, and so we've taken an active role as well in not just teaching students how to process these issues, but also how to create and own an active voice in their community so that they can advocate and influence change as well.
What is your greatest joy since forming your organization?
My greatest joy has been, seeing students like Janae Bailey, who came into our program frustrated, confused. She comes from a background similar to mine, parents and family who has been addicted to drugs. And witnessing her evolve and becoming more self-aware. Now she is a college graduate, and she comes back and speaks to the students in our program. So seeing them navigate our program, identify, learn things about themselves, but also to pay it forward and support other students on their journey as well.
Okay, so I'm going to balance this off.
Yep.
What do you find frustrating in what you're doing?
I think what I find most frustrating is that I am just so passionate in this work that sometimes we don't have all of the resources that we need to give the students what they need. So in terms of, we have students who are experiencing homelessness, and so having to reach out to other organizations and connect them for housing. So sometimes the barriers that we're looking to support, we just don't have access to the resources to support those students.
What I do appreciate is you're not trying to be Superwoman. You're saying, I'm going to do what I can do within my knowledge base, and if it's not something that I understand or I can do, then I'm going to pass it off to someone else. And I think that's what's important, because I look at it this way. When you can tell a child, I'd love to help you, but I can't, but I'm going to find you some help, then they realize, hey, even Miss Richardson asked for help, or Miss Richardson doesn't have all the answers. And I think that helps them understand that in this life, it is about making connections, and it is about that whole idea of lean on me when you're not strong.
Absolutely. I mean, we, as an organization, we face a lot of the challenges that the schools face. You hear the narrative of students who, do not show up to school and they have poor attendance. But why? If I'm taking care of my siblings or I'm having to work to provide for my family, then school may, kind of go on the back burner sometimes. And so as a community-based organization where we support students out of school time, we face a lot of those challenges. So I think for me, it's just really disheartening sometimes to see that students have to really choose between their education and surviving.
You went through those challenges, so you are in a unique position that you understand what they're dealing with, and you also understand what resources are needed for them.
Absolutely. Yep. We do a lot of work with figuring it out. We connect with a lot of community partners. I utilize my resources personally as being, from being a teacher in DC Public Schools. We connect with therapists and social workers who can help us in this work. So we know that it takes a village, and we play an active role in that village, and we always, capitalize on our village as well to support the students.
There you go. We're village people, whether you know it or not. So out here in the village, there's some people that are listening, like you guys, that want to help. How can they?
So we are always looking for mentors, people who can connect with our students to expose them to resources and opportunities. We are always looking for instructors who are willing to support and facilitate social and emotional learning curriculum. The curriculum is already designed, it's spelled out. We just always need facilitators who are interested in doing the work.
You're keeping hope alive.
Yes.
Yes. Keep hope alive. Or is it said in Swahili?
Tamani.
Tamani.
Yes.
So we've been talking with Portia Richardson, who's the CEO and founder of Tamani DC. For Impact Moment, I'm Alvin Jones, right here on DCTV.
Hello, this is Angela Harris, Vice President of Community Engagement and Programming for DCTV. The COVID-19 pandemic is disrupting businesses and service providers across the globe, and the effect is being felt here in DC. We are working diligently to provide for the health and safety of our employees and to do whatever we can to meet the needs of our community stakeholders. As part of our commitment to provide meaningful media to support our communities through this challenging time, we are joining efforts with the Center for Disease Control and the World Health Organization to encourage you to monitor the pandemic situation closely and to follow the guidelines of local and federal officials. We also invite you to engage with DCTV and join us for the wonderful community programs you'll find on our channels that are produced here locally, by, for, and about the city where we live. We wish you and your family excellent health and an easy journey through these challenging times.
Welcome to Impact Moment right here on DCTV. I'm Alvin Jones. 48 years ago, the DC Rape Crisis Center was created. It was the first and only rape crisis center in Washington, DC, and the first in the world. Right now, as you know, with COVID and, of course, with things like Me Too, the need of a rape crisis center, a need for a place where a woman can go to feel safe to address her issues is very important. And that is why we have right here with us right now an Impact Moment, Indira Hennard. She is the CEO of the DC Rape Crisis Center. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing fantastic.
Great.
Like you said, we are adjusting to the new climate.
Absolutely.
As far as heat and world events.
Yes.
America had a chance to see with the Brett Kavanaugh hearings what actually happens to women when they've been assaulted physically, mentally, emotionally. Has that helped getting that information out? Has that helped the DC Rape Crisis Center?
Yeah, so I think ever since the start of the Me Too movement, right, and definitely when Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, when she gave her brave testimony, what we saw as a result of that is that survivors of sexual violence were disclosing and have continued to disclose in record numbers. Our team was privileged enough to be on Capitol Hill during that time supporting survivors of sexual violence, and so what happened is that by survivors seeing Dr. Ford be able to stand in her truth and give her testimony, it gave them the courage to stand in their truth and give their testimony. And so we've seen an ongoing increase in requests for services. We've seen a 15% increase on our hotline. We've seen a 20% increase in individual and group counseling as a result.
Now, before the Me Too movement, how difficult was it for a woman who felt that she had been violated to stand up?
Well, it's always been challenging to stand up and let someone know you've been sexually violated because of the stigma that is associated with that, because of the re-victimization that can occur. What the Me Too movement did was it served as a catalyst for beginning to have this national conversation, this national reckoning around sexual violence.
What I've also noticed is that there were women who may have just put it under the rug, put it in the back of their mind. And when the Me Too movement came about, when you started seeing people talk about their experiences, in this case with Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein, is that these women got more in touch with the feelings that they had repressed. And did you find for some of them it was good for them to step up into it, and for some that it became more painful to bring it back up?
Yeah, so I think what we are clear about is that no survivor of sexual violence owes you their story. And for some, being able to speak your truth is healing. And for others, they just aren't there yet, and they may never be there, and that's okay.
So what you're saying is, if a woman has had an experience, how she deals with it is her business, and she has to make that choice of what she's most comfortable with.
Absolutely. Each individual survivor is different, right? So there is no straight path to healing, and there is no one monolithic way to heal, and every survivor is going to do what is best for them.
So let me ask you this. In the last 6 months, what have you discovered that kind of made you go, wow, I didn't know this, or now I get it, or I didn't even know I didn't get it?
So, I think we are always learning from survivors of sexual violence because the healing journey is so different, right? The healing journey happens in a spiral format, right? So at one point, a survivor could be at A, B, C, and the next point they could be at E, F, so on and so forth. And so what we're clear about at the DC Rape Crisis Center is that survivors are the GPS in which we take our direction from. So we're always learning. We always want to know from them what is working, what they're needing, and how we can best, as a Rape Crisis Center, help facilitate their healing.
So you're telling me that DC Rape Crisis Center is basically responding to their needs and not dictating what their needs should be?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is the most survivor-centered thing to do.
What are some of the challenges that DC Rape Crisis Center is experiencing right now, and how can people help you with that challenge?
Yeah, absolutely. So the COVID-19 pandemic has completely changed the way in which we execute our work. All of our services are happening virtually via telehealth. It's important to note that we are open, that we are continuing to serve survivors of sexual violence. Again, we have seen a significant increase in the requests for services. Our hotline calls have doubled. Our hotline calls have played an important thread in survivors of sexual violence. What we know is that the hotline is not just a crisis line, but it's also a lifeline.
So the folks that are watching, how can they help you in your efforts?
So I think, folks, one, we want people to know we're open. Two, our hotline is 24/7. If folks are needing support, it's 202-333-RAPE. We encourage them to go to our website, which is www.dcrcc.org.
Well, there it is. 48 years supporting women in Washington, D.C., the first rape crisis center in the entire United States. Indira Hennard, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.
Thank you.
So this has been another way that we bring information to you through Impact Moment. For DCTV, I'm Alvin Jones.
Tell us about your boyfriend.
Hey, well, when I first met Mark, it was love at first sight. From that moment, I knew I would do anything for him. For example, he worked with this guy that I don't really trust, so I started driving him to work and picking him up so I could be sure that he'd be okay. And now I keep an eye on his phone to see if he or anyone else weird is texting him or whatever. He can be naive sometimes, so just to be safe, I have him call me every hour so I know where he is and who he's with. He's my everything.
We work really hard at making sure that when families leave our programs, that they don't return to homelessness. And right now we're trending at about just above 95% rate of people who leave our programs not coming back to the shelter system within 2 years. It's another measure of success that we really take seriously, because ultimately we want to know that we have helped people to improve their lives.
The moment I got the keys, it was like, is this really happening for real? Is this the last time I'm gonna tell my kids we're moving? Only thing I can say about Housing Up is the people that we work with, they're always here to listen. When we need things, they make it happen. If they can't, they try to give us resources. Like, I just love the whole program. Without Housing Up, I don't know where I would be right now.
Welcome to Impact Moment right here on DCTV. I'm Alvin Jones, and today we're going to have some fun because we're going to talk about the ultimate power. That's Kid Power. And the CEO of Kid Power Incorporated is Andrea Tobin, and she's here with us right now. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. You know, the inner kid in me is coming out.
That's what we try to do.
Well, you know what they say, with a child's heart, nothing's going to get us down.
That is true, and we need their energy and passion and creativity now more than ever.
And their ability. One of the things I do like about children, they will ask the question, what is Kid Power Incorporated?
Sure. We are a youth development organization here in the district. We are a nonprofit. In our name, Kid Power. At our core, we believe that young people can truly overcome their obstacles in their community. They can be the agents of positive change. They can be the power if we give them the right tools and opportunities. So we provide after school, summer, in school programs to help give young people those tools.
I understand you guys at Kid Power, you have representatives who run for, I won't say office, but their rightful place, and they are a part of making policies that go on inside of Kid Power.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the really important things that Kid Power tries to do is recognize that every student has the same potential, but every student does not have equal opportunity. So at Kid Power, we want young people to be leaders. We know they can be leaders. And so one of our programs and activities is having young people be elected by their peers to be representatives of Kid Power. And they work with us, senior staff and board, to make sure that they can come back to their classrooms and implement classroom policies for their program. And we also have them work with us and City Council on larger DC issues.
You know, what I really, really like about what you're doing with Kid Power is the fact that you are showing the youth how things really work, and you're making them a part of it, and you're letting them see how this makes a difference. In the last few years, what changes have you seen within Kid Power?
Lots of changes, and I'm grateful to see our community actually realizing that young people can be vehicles of change and help advance equity. I'm seeing a lot of that. I remember when I was at one of our elementary schools, I told the principal, I'm really excited the kids really want to do a drive. They want to find out toys and clothes that they don't want, and they want to give those to homeless children. And the principal told me, our students are homeless. You can't do that. You know, they're the ones that are homeless. And I said, no, we need to teach our young people that they can help others. And that is such a fundamental, tangible opportunity that kids need to feel successful and to feel valued and to feel important to grow. And now I would have that conversation with principals and they would agree with me. And so I think that as a community, we are seeing these big changes where we're recognizing the power of students and how that they have to give back to their community to be successful.
What are some of the challenges that you have with Kid Power, and what are some of the things that you want people to know?
Many of our challenges are still the resource allocation in the city. I think we are all aware that there's a wide equity gap and achievement gap here in the city, and I'm really pleased to see DC Public Schools and our city leaders addressing this and providing more funding for at-risk students, but I still see that as one of our biggest challenges. Last year alone at one of our schools, which is in Ward 8, less than 10% of students tested at proficiency in English language arts. So just let that sink in. 90% of students are not meeting grade level expectations, and 17% of the student body is considered homeless. And that's unacceptable, and that's a challenge that we need to address because we know every student has the same potential. So that's one of the biggest challenges that we still see in the district.
Who are some of your advocates? Who are some of your best friends?
We have a lot of best friends. I think at the core of our being, we believe in community building. It really drives our work. It really drives our values. And right now, with everything going on, I think our programs are amazing and our programs are strong and they're evidence-based and we're stretching our creative muscles. But at the end of the day, it's our values and our mission what drives us and allows us to be nimble. And so we have reached out and worked with so many community partners. We work with City Council, we work with DC Public Schools, we work with a range of other nonprofit organizations to come together and make sure that we're getting resources to students together. So we have over a dozen community partners.
How can someone reach out to you?
You can go to our website, www.kidpowerdc.org.
All right, so thank you very much for joining us and giving us that information that we really know that people who are watching are really now excited about, and they're probably either going to get involved or know some kids that they can get involved. So we'd like to thank Andrea Tobin, the CEO of Kid Power Incorporated, for Impact Moments right here on DCTV. I'm Alvin Jones.
When I was young, I was plagued by fear and self-pity.
My life was in shambles. At first, I never drank on the job, but eventually I did.
Removing alcohol wasn't enough. It left me depressed. That's where AA offered a solution.
I remember sitting in the AA meeting and thinking, I finally found a place where I belong.
AA not only keeps me sober, it helps me live a much better life.
If you have a problem with alcohol, contact AA. It works for me.
And for me.
And for me.
When people learn about UPO, I want them to walk away with knowing that there is an organization that is deeply committed to helping individuals and families in the community thrive in DC.
And the reason why we focus on opportunity and not just the services, because we aren't pulling people along, but what we're saying is here's the door to opportunity, and we'll walk alongside you, we will help you, because we recognize that our customers really do it for themselves.
Well, UPO has given me a second chance at life. It has shaped me, it has molded me, it has lifted me up.
We invite you to join in the anti-poverty fight with us, whether as a customer, a volunteer, a supporter, or a donor. We invite you to visit our website at www.upo.org.
I'm Jackie, the Master Control Coordinator at DCTV. In addition to my work at DCTV, I'm also an attorney, which is the career I had before coming to DCTV. In the words of Congressman Alcee Hastings, all lives can't matter unless Black lives matter. The framers of the Constitution did not intend to include people of African descent, indigenous people of this land, and women as citizens of the United States of America. Over time, the Constitution was amended, treaties were formed, and laws were adopted to address this exclusion. Unfortunately, hatred and bigotry still pervades in every aspect of American life. The recent uprising of citizens of elevated consciousness of every race, sex, religion, socioeconomic, and educational backgrounds was triggered by the continuous killing of Black people by police. The issue of police brutality against Black people is not a new one. What is different today is that ordinary people are now equipped with the technology to become citizen journalists and record what is going on at the hands of the police. The world is able to see the disparity and brutality firsthand. And we are seeing that this is a global pandemic, no different than COVID-19. Black people are being killed disproportionately and unnecessarily at the hands of the police. I came to DCTV over 20 years ago because this is an organization that gives the community and me the opportunity to exercise our First Amendment right to free speech. The same passion that I have for justice inspires me to do the work that I do at DCTV. I have a voice, I have a story. I am DCTV.
Welcome to Impact Moment right here on DCTV. I'm Alvin Jones, and we are social distancing, which means we're keeping our distance, but we're close when it comes to information. Today we have Kiara Thomas, better known as KT.
KB.
Oh, they call you KB?
KB.
Now, where'd the B come from?
It's a long story.
You just like the B, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I like Kiara because Kiara means to change or make better.
I like that. I got to tell my mom thank you for the name.
She probably knew.
And she did. You're right. She probably did, though.
So let's talk about the Hoop for All Foundation.
Okay. Hoop for All Foundation, we started in 2012. Ayo and I were sophomores at Howard University. We wanted to...
HU.
You know.
You know.
Yeah, so we wanted to create an event that was going to bridge the Howard community and the DC community at the time. So me being from PG County and him being from Connecticut, we realized that there was this disconnect between both communities. And we were like, okay, what can we do that would be really, super cool, that can bring everybody together, but at the same time, be fun, or actually, be impactful for the community.
Yeah.
So the only thing we had was Relay for Life, and we're like, okay, that's cool, but we need something like actually created by the students. So we're gonna create something called, we're gonna do a basketball tournament. Instead of doing 5-on-5, let's do 3-on-3. That's a little bit more fun. We can get through games faster.
Right.
So everybody really liked it, and by our second year, we started getting a lot more exposure, a lot more contacts with different organizations and causes, and people like what we were doing. So we were like, all right, let's do year 3. We did year 3, and we started being like, oh, this is something we actually need to make much larger than just the Howard University event, which in turn, we was like, okay, cancer, what else can we focus on? We want to focus on the Black community, especially me being from PG County and seeing how many after-school programs are taken away.
So what are you most proud about with Hoop for All?
What am I most proud about? Thank you, that's a wonderful question. I'm most proud that I have a partner who is phenomenal. Like, we like yin and yang. Like, he's like the business suit guy, and I'm just the in the streets commute. Like, I do more of our entertainment stuff and sort of things like this. In addition to him, I would say the ability to be able to be going into year 9 consistently, starting when we were 19 and now being 28, and I'm like, I can see something that I'm proud of, as in the foundation as a whole, I would say.
Let's talk about, how does it feel when you were putting your heart in something and it's working and it's helping other people?
It feels good. I mean, we've given a decent amount of money. We raised a considerable amount of money. Last year was Ayo and I's 5-year reunion with our class, the class of 2014, and he and I were the scholarship chairs, and we were able to raise $11,000. So I was like, wow, I get to give scholarships back to Howard students, and I'm only 5 years removed, and that felt, for me, that was like touching. I didn't cry. Well, actually, I did cry, because we also gave honor to 3 of our classmates who passed away. We gave the scholarships in their honor, so it feels great. I mean, what more is there to do?
Okay, so now I know what KB stands for.
Uh-oh.
Kiara's the best.
Oh, I like that one.
That's it.
Okay, it's usually Kiara Baby, but I might have to,
Kiara's
adopt
the
that
best.
one. I like that.
Yeah.
I try to be.
Or Kiara the baller.
There we go.
There we go. See, look at her. She's smiling because she knows it's true. She answers to her name. Speaking of names, how can people find out more about your organization?
hoopforall.com, so HOOPFORALL.com. Hoop for All is all of our social media handles, so all of our content, information is on there. We just, over the quarantine, we were hosting a series of different interviews with health professionals, different athletes, just different people who are impactful to the community as well with us. So I would say our Instagram would be the best way to keep, updated of our future events. Everything going on right now with COVID, it is a little, slow.
So for me, this has been an impactful impact moment with KB, with the Hoop for All Foundation.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
Alvin Jones, and thank you for watching DCTV.
Thank you, guys.
Wash your hands, avoid sick people, and touching your face. There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. Brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
A260C amplifies the voices of DC youth through imaginative and effective writing education. Our storefront is Tivoli's Astounding Magic Supply Company, Deluxe Haberdashery and Illusionary. It allows our students a space to enter that feels distinct from anywhere else that they would be learning. It feels different from home, it feels different from school, but it is a place where true learning happens, and they are members of this space.
I did good on my test. I passed it. Next thing you know, A+.
Our students are authoring their paths forward every time they put the pencil down, every time they step to the keyboard. And I consider myself lucky to be on a team that gets to advance that work here in DC every single day.
Hi, I'm Julia Reardon, Grants Manager and Associate Producer at DCTV. Thank you for joining us on this special day of programming as we pay tribute to the amazing and critical work that nonprofit organizations are doing to make an impact in our community each and every day. The DCTV Grant Program was established in 2019 to help nonprofit organizations to learn marketing communications best practices and to provide digital media assets to help them in telling their story. Each grant cycle is 1 year-long program. We launched our first cycle in August of 2019, and amid the global pandemic, we welcomed a second cycle of grantees that we are thrilled to formally announce here. These are the recipients of the second cohort group of grantees who joined us earlier this year. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, we're pushing forward and helping grantees now more than ever to find innovative ways to make impact during these times. So, congratulations to our second cohort grant award recipients. We invite all nonprofit organizations who serve the Washington, D.C. community to apply for the DCTV Nonprofit Capacity Building Grant. We award grants twice a year, in January and in July. If your organization is interested in applying for a DCTV Nonprofit Capacity Building Grant, please visit us online at dctv.org/grants to find out more about the program and how to apply. You can always sign up to attend one of our info sessions to get an in-depth overview of all this grant has to offer. Let us help your organization to tell quality stories about the important work that you do to make a positive impact in our community. We look forward to working with you.
Can you imagine a world where there are no more color lines? A world where people are just people, free to follow our dreams, free to just be free. A world where we are not defined or categorized by the color of our skin. At DCTV, we believe it's time for change. It's time to erase the color lines. It's time to fix humanity. We are pleased to partner with DC-based international recording artist Silver Logan Sharp in the world premiere of a movement for change. No more color lines. This is Meaningful Media. This is Impact for Change. This is DCTV.
Imagine, close your eyes and imagine. Imagine no more color now. Imagine no more reasons why you can do anything you try. Don't give up on you. Imagine your dreams coming true. Imagine a world where no one has color for skin. Color for skin. Imagine a place where everyone only stands to win. Some of us call our world a peaceful place, but if you could go back, think of everything you tried. No more reasons why. Anything you try. Don't give up on you. Imagine your dream. It's so easy for you to jump to the wrong conclusion. Wrong conclusion. Imagine if your first thought was to find a resolution. Some of us think we can't change anything, but if you could do it differently, what choices will you make? Imagine no more color. Imagine no reasons why you can do anything you try. Don't give up on you. Imagine your dreams coming true. No more color. We're all together. Reasons why. Imagine anything you try. Don't give up on you. Imagine it's coming true. Imagine if at the drop of a hat you could turn back and start each day all over again. Every new day that you wake, you can make a choice to love and way, in spite of all the things that you need to change. Imagine no more reasons why you can do anything you try. Don't give up on you. Imagine your dreams. Imagine no more color. Imagine no more reasons why you can do anything you try. Don't give up on you. Imagine your dreams coming true. Imagine no more reasons why you can do anything you try. Don't give up on you. Imagine your dreams coming true. Imagine no more reasons why you can do anything you try. Don't give up on you. Imagine your dreams coming true.